you can do all the hard work and you can do all the hard things. You can ice bath, you can run a marathon, you can be a world champion, you can be an amazing podcast host, be a top podcast host, but are you doing this out of love or fear?
On today's pod, I have Katie Willaims, a former Australian Athlete of the Year. This woman is a powerhouse. I sat here in complete awe of all her knowledge. We talk about self-love, we talk about balance, and we talk about what she's taken from being an athlete to now when it comes to her life. I was obsessed with this episode, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. Welcome back to another episode of Self-Dom Beautiful Humans, a safe place to learn and get inspired to live your healthiest and most fulfilling life. I'm Dom, your host, and I feel so grateful to be living my passion and getting to interview inspiring and knowledgeable guests. On today's pod, I have Katie Willaims. She is a force to be reckoned with, a former Australian Athlete of the Year and a world champion sprinter. This is my first time having an athlete on the mic, so I'm so excited to pick her brain. Katie has the brains too, with a Bachelor of Sports and Exercise Management, as well as a Cert 3 in Fitness. I love following her content, and I always tell the community, make sure you follow people who inspire you and create conscious and knowledgeable content, and that's exactly what Katie does. So thank you so much for jumping on the mic today.
Oh my God, what a great intro.
Oh, amazing.
I love this.
So we've been chewing each other's ears off mic.
For a while.
Yeah, we're like, let's jump on the pod and actually chat so that the listeners can hear. So I wanted to dive straight into it. You obviously were a former athlete. Were you always into wellness, and what's your journey been with it?
First of all, thank you for having me.
Oh, no, of course.
It's very nice to be in your place,
Yes.
and to meet you properly. We've had like lots of like probably sliding door moments where we've
Yes.
kind of known each other but not known each other.
I felt that too.
Yeah.
But I was like, because obviously you had the long hair and then now you've
Yeah.
like shaved it. But I feel like I knew you back then. Like I've seen you around.
Definitely. It's
Yeah.
a small community.
Yeah.
Like it is a very small community.
Very.
So back to your question, I, was an athlete for a very long time, for 19 years actually.
Wow.
But I started gymnastics when I was really little. And I was quite good at gymnastics, and I was doing it not full time, but pretty crazy hours.
How
And then,
old were you then?
I think I was like 3 or 4, started with gymnastics. But I actually started my sport of surf life saving at 4. So I started, which is like nippers, surf life saving, beach sprinting. And I also did athletics, so track and field. But I started my sport at 4. So I was always a very active kid, ADHD, hyperactive. Sport was very much like a part of my life. And I think, since a very little child, I've been very active, and obviously through myself. My parents kind of threw me into sport at a super young age because I was just such an active and like restless kid.
Yeah.
And thank God, because it saved me. It saved me mentally, but also I think without my sport, I just wouldn't have become the person that I am now.
I love that so much. And can you talk a little bit about your athletic career, and for anyone who doesn't know, when you started, training professionally and things?
Oh, it's so funny talking about my sporting background, because I think like who I am now, I'm like, oh my God, I don't even feel like it's me anymore.
Really?
Because I feel like I'm just a normal human now. But my life, when I say normal human, like obviously I'm active and still train a lot, but I trained like a psycho. Like I did 10 years of full-time training. I obviously started my sport at 4 and I retired at like 23, 24. So that's 19 years of doing the sport, which is a super long time. I was in the Australian team, got to travel, went to France, went to Japan. Was supposed to go to Holland, but unfortunately I got really sick and missed the biggest race of my life, which is World Championships. I was world champion at age 19 and then was Australian champion numerous times in a row. But 10 years of training full time is crazy. Like, I mean, no time off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
it's full on.
those pivotal years when you're young and your friends are probably going out partying and like how did you navigate that as someone taking your career so seriously at such a young age?
I'd love to say that I was
A good person.
like a good athlete, like a well-behaved athlete, but I definitely wasn't. I think if I look back at my career, like I definitely still partied and had fun and went out, but there was particular times in my life, like coming up to nationals for like 4 or 5 months, I would not drink and not go out, and it was very structured and routined. I would try to go to bed early. Like I've very much watched what I ate. I trained full time, like training through winter, like the dead of winter, the cold, the storms. Training never stopped. I never really took holidays or took breaks. If I was going on holidays, I was traveling for my sport. So like went to France to run, went to Japan to run, didn't have much time off in between. Any kind of trip that I did for my sport was like followed by like a few days of traveling, but then straight back to training. I'd love to say that I, was a well-behaved athlete, but I was not. I still very much had like my wild teenage years, but it kind of went in periods. So if I had like, particularly when Worlds was coming up, so I would train for 2 years. Every 2 years was world titles. And it's a very strict, when you're representing your country, it's very strict, like with everything, obviously. So, yeah, it would be like 3 or 4 months or 5 months in the lead up, like no drinking, really strict, but then obviously you have an off season. So I think a lot of athletes kind of have that roller coaster of being like really disciplined and then having time to like blow off steam.
Like make up for lost time.
Make up for lost time, yeah, which I definitely did after retiring. But yeah, I'd kind of go in waves of being like really, 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 really disciplined. And then the off season, I'd kind of have a little bit of leniency. But you definitely like can't drink and compete. It's not possible. Like you throw up on the track. Like even like one wine, you'd feel at training the next day.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you were so young, and I always think back to my younger years. I was like, wow, I could just keep going. And now, I'm 30 next year. I'm like, I have one glass of wine and I'm hungover.
Yeah, babe.
So I can just imagine like being at that, athletic career pivotal, you would just notice everything in your body. And it kind of leads me to my next question, which is now in your everyday life, what principles have you taken from being an athlete that you carry on?
I think that when you're an athlete, you're looking at every part of your life to improve by like, 0.5%. But
Wow.
Now I think about the 1%ers rather than like the 0.5s. I think of like all the little 1%ers that add up in your day. Like, I wear my Whoop band to track my sleep, my strain, my recovery. I'm always looking at like my water intake, or I'm adding Celtic salt to my water, or adding liquid IV, or making sure that, I don't need to drink Gatorade anymore because I'm not burning as many calories and that kind of stuff. But back when I was competing, I was drinking Gatorade and making sure that I was really fueled and all that kind of stuff. So now I look at sleep, hydration, managing my stress levels. The other 1%ers for me is like saunaing, ice bath, recovery, meditation when I feel like I can do it because I struggle with it.
I guess like you said, you got the ADHD.
I got ADHD.
That'd be quite hard with the meditation.
It can be. Yeah, definitely. Which is why breath work is a bit better for me because it's an active thing. I can meditate if I'm in a sauna or I've kind of like got my energy out.
Yeah, like your parasympathetic nervous system's already ready for it and prepped for it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in like a calmer state. But all of the lessons that I've learnt from being an athlete and pushing my body to the limits has also taught me the importance of recovery, nutrition, definitely managing like my training in a way that is for performance, because I used to just flog myself. Whereas now, like I train, but I just have way better balance. But yeah, looking at the 1%ers and taking all of the lessons I've learned from being an athlete and implementing them in all the right ways, because I'm not performing anymore. Like I used to be like an entertainer. Like I'd love the crowds and the cameras and like the whole thing was just like this big like show and it was fun. And now I'm like, I just train for fun.
Yeah.
Which is nice to not have that level of pressure anymore.
Yeah, you sound like a really balanced individual.
I hope so. I don't know, like up to this morning was chaos. So like calling you like, I'm running late. I'm sorry. Like Yeah, I'd say I've got better balance now, but you know, the first thing any athlete will tell you is there's no such thing as balance. You are 110% in, and like that's all that matters. And I don't know any athlete that's not obsessive. I think if you're going to get to the top of your sport, like, you know, becoming world champion at age 19, like no stone is left unturned. Every single thing is tracked and measured. You're obsessed. You are so disciplined. And I'm not that kind of person anymore because it was not good for my mental health, or the relationship with success or the relationship with my body. Now I see life, you know, as drink the wine, have the chocolate, have fun, relax, sleep in, because that is the life that I want, because that is the life that I did not have.
Yeah, I needed to hear that because I go to Italy on Sunday and I'm someone who's so rigid with my routine and I don't drink alcohol and, you know, and I thought, this morning, I've had a fucking tough week and I thought, I can't wait to go to Italy. I'm going to have the Aperols. I'm going to sleep in. I'm just going to live La Dolce Vita and like not stress. So hearing that from you, I'm like, you know what? I'm giving myself permission. And I think it's so important because this wellness industry, we see such rigid people online and everyone's doing everything to perfection. But in reality, that's not living. And I think that's a really powerful message that you've, you know, taken some lessons from being a professional athlete. But what truly matters to you now is being present and living and, you know, spending time with the people in your life over a beautiful glass of wine. Like, let's not shame it.
I am so like far the other end now. Like as in like I would say I was like, you know, 90-10 with everything. And now I wouldn't even say I'm 80-20. I'm like 70-30. Like when, you know what I mean? Maybe even 60-40 of like, you know,
because come drunk to the podcast. No, I'm kidding.
But you definitely, I love that you're going to do that. And like that, hearing you say like, you know, you're going to sleep in, relax, have, you know, I don't know if you can eat pasta, but like you're in Italy. Gluten-free, yeah, and do the things that make you feel good. And for me, when, you know, you're talking about going on a holiday and just relaxing and letting your body chill and like not being so strict, that is health. Health is doing the things that make you feel good. That could be having your glass of red on a Friday night. That could be having your sauna. That could be getting up early, or that could be sleeping in. It's the things that make you feel good, and it comes in seasons. You can't do the same thing constantly without having some flexibility in your routine.
Yeah, and also from my experience, whenever I do let myself just like go back and relax, I come back home and I'm ready to go. I'm energized. I'm creative. You've got space to be creative. And I think, again, it's this thing that health is so bio-individual, and what works for one person might not work for you, and just figuring that out. And I'm still figuring that out. It's a forever journey. So, yeah, I'm really excited to just have my prosciutto on the bloody melon and eat and enjoy. So I love that.
We're not robots, you know, like as much as you'd like to think we can just keep moving forward and keep progressing and just keep ticking things off. Like, we're humans and we have emotions and hormones and like nervous system regulation, and like we just have so many things that are moving all the time. Every day is not going to look the same. Like, I have this ideal day in my head all the time and I try to stick to an ideal day, but you might have a day where you've got your period, or you're feeling flat, or you're just having a mental health day, a bad mental health day, and you need to be flexible enough in your routine to honor your needs and where you're at.
Yeah, and I felt that yesterday because, I mean, me and my mum are best friends and we haven't had a fight in ages, and we had an argument for the first time in ages, and I was like, I'm hitting that burnout zone where I'm letting it out on everybody. And if you don't give yourself that flexibility, then you do end up becoming this rigid person. And I was like, I don't like that person. So I think it's really important to find those moments in the day where you can just be, no plan. And yeah, I'm finding it very inspiring what you're saying.
Oh, babe,
so
I literally this morning had like I call it a Mentos, like when you're about like a mental breakdown. I literally did, or a Menti B, like Teague's called.
I love Menti B.
Menti B, the same thing this morning. Teague's like, I have like 4 deadlines today, literally. And Teague's called me and she was like, the car's not ready, all this stuff, like gonna have to like drop it back at 3. And I was like going through my head like everything that's due today. And I was like, if I was not feeling stressed, I'd be like, fine, we can get it done. But I've had the same thing, one of those weeks where like everything's just on top of me. So tonight I said the same thing. I'm like, I'm not not going to do anything tonight. I'm going to lay on the couch and I'm going to watch Netflix and I'm just going to turn my phone off.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to reach these points, and I do this a lot, where I reach these points where I'm just like so like ready to snap or have like a Menti B day.
Menti
and
B.
that's okay. You can cry, you can lose it, like few tears, shake it off, cancel what you need to cancel and just regroup. We need to.
100%. Well, I want to talk about self-love. So I feel like you did talk about it a little bit here and there, but I want to dive deeper. You said as an athlete, you noticed how you viewed your body. So what's your journey with self-love, and, you know, what are some ways you've gotten to where you are now?
I think that, I don't know how much I've felt like true self-love in my life, but what I've felt more is self-acceptance. And I think like last year I shaved my head, and that was
I love it, by the way. You're so hot. I'm like, damn, girl. Damn.
Thank you. It feels like I feel more authentic. I feel like it's more me. I think that being, being an athlete for 19 years and then moving straight into like the social media space. I went straight into like TV presenting. I went straight into podcasting, like straight from being an athlete. I moved right through, like done a few TV shows and kind of thrown myself back into this space of like ego and like little bit of external validation. And that is not, once again, that's not a fulfilling life. And I think that I've, over the years, learnt self-acceptance and self-love outside of any external validation, like actually being able to look in the mirror and go like, I'm proud of myself for, getting up at an earlier time, or I'm proud of myself for journaling, or I'm proud of myself for actually doing a run and, doing only 6K instead of 10 because I was listening to my body. I'm proud of myself for reading a few pages of the book, rather than setting like these crazy goals and then being like, I feel so proud of myself, or I love myself so much for this thing. Whereas now I'm kind of looking at self-love from the perspective of like, who am I outside of my work, my achievements, what I look like. I know you're in a very similar industry where you get booked because of your body, and you get booked because of what you look like, or you get booked because of, the person, like your brand is your name. So for me, self-love is being able to like keep the promises to myself and being proud of the person I am outside of the accolades and the achievements, because at the end of the day, like none of that fucking matters. It matters how you feel about yourself. And I've done lots of therapy. Like obviously I've come out, and I came out in the media. I retired from my career, not by choice. I completely burnt myself out. So I've spent 6 years kind of trying to accept my career ending by my own actions. Like I pushed myself to its limits. I pushed my body to its limits, and I was just done with the sport. So self-love for me is an evolution. I feel that I do accept myself, but I don't think I'm like truly like, I don't think I can look in the mirror and be like, I fucking love myself. I do when I'm not around my period. But I definitely am still on the journey of true self-love. Because if I truly love myself, I'd meditate. I'd tick off, the things that are hard. I'm still getting more like disciplined and learning elements of not self-sabotaging, because self-sabotage is like, I'm asleep through that alarm. I'm going to like eat that food that makes me feel shit. I'm going to like entertain that toxic friend. So for me, it's like this constant evolution of self and being proud of who I am on the journey. But I'm still getting there with the self-love, I think.
It's so interesting as well, the words you use, like discipline and doing things that are difficult. People would look at you as an athlete. You've had to do that your whole career.
Yeah.
And, it just really emphasizes that the self-love or self-acceptance is a forever journey. And you can see people in the media and think, they would love themselves. They've got everything going on, gold medals, this, that. And you have no idea what's happening. And it's a good reminder that the social media world and media is just smoke and mirrors. Like, it's BS.
Yeah.
You know, it's not true.
I also think as well, you can do all the hard work and you can do all the hard things. You can ice bath, you can run a marathon, you can be a world champion, you can be an amazing podcast host, be a top podcast host. But are you doing this out of love or fear? And that's a really big one. Like, I look back at my career and so much of it was like, I just wanted to win. And it was so fear driven. It was like, if I don't win, I'm not good enough. And that was this constant, like, you fail your whole, every day you fail because you are pushing yourself to win this crazy like goal, and you actually have to fail every day because that's how you get better. Like, you fail in the gym, like you push yourself to failure. And I just don't think that approach to a happy and fulfilling and satisfying life is that way. I think that a really important question is to ask yourself, like, am I doing this out of love or fear? And I think that this podcast for you is such like a baby of love. It's like this was born out of love, and you're doing this not to prove anything. You're doing this because it's like you want to share your knowledge and you love this space. But if you were doing this out of fear, you would be like looking at the numbers, looking at the brand deals, like wanting to prove yourself constantly. And it's a really important question. It's like, yeah, are you doing this with purpose? And sometimes people don't ask themselves those questions, even in their relationships or, their careers, their projects. Like, why are you actually doing it?
I think it's a good question to ask yourself about everything. I think with my experience with this podcast and the space that I'm in now, like, I feel so grateful to be able to speak to people like you and other guests and learn. And then if I can share it, that's a bonus. And if you can get a sponsor, that's a bonus. But if you're doing it because you love it, there's longevity in it.
Yeah.
There's no end line because you just love it and you become present in it when you love it. And if you think about a relationship, that's a good relationship that you're not in because you're fearful of being alone. You're in it because you love it. It's so easy to be present with that person.
Yeah.
So the same kind of idea runs with every facet in your life. So
exactly.
I really think that's a great question to ask yourself. You did touch on you not being able to maybe say in the mirror, well, depending on where you are in your cycle, you know what I mean? Being like in the mirror, like affirmations. But I do see on Instagram affirmations a lot. I love them personally.
I love them, yeah.
Yeah. Do you use that as a tool in your little toolkit?
Oh, babe, absolutely. Like, you know, you said before about self-love. I definitely feel like I'm proud of who I am and I accept myself. But I can't say that every day I love myself. Like, it's a constant evolution, and a part of me, you know, truly loving myself is believing the words that I say. And affirmations are huge for me. Like, sometimes I'll post affirmations on my stories that I love. Sometimes I'll write my own. A lot of the like, my house is covered in affirmations. Like, obviously I'm in a same-sex relationship, so she loves it too. Like,
do you have sticky notes and things?
Sticky notes, literally sticky notes everywhere. I've also got on my mirror, like, you know how you can do the decals, like they're stuck on there. Like, one on my mirror in the bathroom is "Smile, you're beautiful," and then one in our other mirror is "Something great is going to happen for you today." Like, obviously just super basic, but I write my own affirmations all the time. One of them is my authentic code, which is a course I did with Lacey Phillips called To Be Expanded. To Be Magnetic is the course, and her podcast is called Expanded. And I did
I love that podcast. Yeah. Unreal.
She's amazing. So I did a course, one of her courses, and I had to write out my authentic code. And my authentic code is vitality, authenticity, freedom, impact, and connection. And that I read every day, and I ask myself, what are the things that I'm doing that give me freedom, vitality, connection, and impact? Like, because those are my words, and that is how I want to live my life. So to have these constant reminders written, whether it's on your phone, like maybe not the background now, I change the background all the time on my phone, but like one of them is close the loop. Because being ADHD, like I'll start something, do something else. So like I need this reminder, close the loop, close that thing. One of them for me was 110%, which was my grandfather would always tell me, like, if you give 110%, you'll never go wrong. And my other one, like I write new ones all the time, but one that I have stuck on my laptop is 18,250 days. And that's the days I have left if I die at 80, because I'm 30 now. So that's 50 years. And it's just like things like, obviously I don't keep them all the time, but like every few weeks I'll kind of like change up the words or the things that I need to hear. And I think that, you know, the words that you say to yourself become the house that you live in, and the words that you repeat to yourself is the reality that you create. So if you're, you know, giving yourself positive reminders over time, you actually believe that. And it's really important to write affirmations that you actually believe. It can't be affirmations that are too far away from you, because if it's not believable, it's pointless. So it's got to be something you actually believe. So if self-love is something that you struggle with and you don't love the person you are right now, pick something that you like, a characteristic that you do love about yourself that's believable, because once you start giving yourself praise and credit, you will actually start to believe other really beautiful things about yourself. And yeah, in a world where we're being torn down, especially on social media or just this society in general, we have to work extra hard at giving ourselves beautiful words of affirmation.
That was really special. I feel like affirmations can get a bad rap because of that thing where people say something that's so far ahead, it's not realistic. They're saying it and they know they're lying to themselves. I feel like that will just make you feel shit about yourself. But when you write the right affirmations, it's scientifically proven to rewire your brain.
Yes.
Like, why would you not just give it a go and see what happens?
Oh, babe, and also just being aware of the things that you say to yourself without realizing. I think anyone is self-critical. I mean, we all are.
Oh my God, the head noise.
The head noise. Well, one of my favorite quotes is, on the days that you only have 20% and you've given 20%, then you've given 100%. Like, you know those days you have where you're like, everything's working, I feel amazing, I've got so much energy. And then you have days where you've slept crap, maybe you're feeling hormonal, you've had shit go down, which happens all the time. Like, every day has always got some level of drama. But I think it's just being realistic with the energy you have that day, how you're feeling, and just managing your expectations. Like, we can't give 100% every day. And yeah, if you've given 100% on the days that you didn't have that, then you're a champion.
Yeah, well, I think this ties really nicely to morning routine. I love asking the guests what they do to set up their day. So if you're someone who wakes up and you're not feeling 100%, do you do your usual morning routine or do you mix it up?
I'm actually so out of my morning routine at the moment, and that's been a real struggle for me, like I said, with ADHD and being self-employed. My ultimate morning routine, which I'd love to return to again, is waking up after. I don't have a set time that I wake up anymore. Like I said, I track everything
freelance
now with my
life.
Word.
Let's just say that's freelance life.
Yeah,
I know it's a luxury.
Yeah, it's a massive luxury. But I used to be so strict. I would get up at like 5, 6 a.m. every day. I don't do that anymore.
I mean, you did it for 19 years.
I did it for a very long time.
Like, you're probably waking up earlier, traveling. You're making up for lost time again.
Lost time. Like this morning, I woke up at 6:30. Every day this week, I've woken up about 6. Over the weekend, I might wake up at 8. Like, so my biggest thing now is making sure that I've slept 7 to 8 hours. This week I've had a few nights that are 5 hours, 6 hours. So I'm not so worried now about what time I wake up. I check what time I'm going to bed based on if I'm still working or editing or doing something in the night, and I will set my alarm. So I will set my alarm to make sure I've had 7 or 8 hours sleep, because I have that luxury, and I've also done so many years of not sleeping enough, and that's just not it for me anymore. So for me, it's making sure it's 7 or 8 hours sleep. If that's getting up at 6 or 7 or 7:30, sweet. I'm not strict on timings anymore. My morning routine has always been coffee when I wake up, water first, then coffee, and then I will jump into planning my day. So I like to color code. I don't know if you've heard me speak about this.
No, but I need to hear more.
My phone calendar and my physical calendar or diary is color coded. So I will map my day out and plan my day. I usually on a Sunday will map out my week, but then I have another calendar that's like my daily. And this is just because I'm managing lots of different things like 2 podcasts, helping G with the skincare business. I'm launching a running program and a fitness program, working with brands, having deadlines for Instagram and TikTok for branded content, doing my own content in between, replying to DMs, which I can never seem to keep up with, replying to emails, it's just hectic. So each day looks a little different if I've got work events or if I'm doing a podcast as a guest. But coming back to color coding, I plan my day and each color has a meaning. So I have 5 highlighters and I'll do each color for each pillar of my day. Sauntering and ice bathing is something I love doing, and exercise just like you. So I will try to make sure that my day looks like the rainbow. So I've got, say, green is podcast, purple is self-care, yellow is work. What else is there? Pink is social life. Blue is fitness. So
this is very balanced.
It's trying to keep me balanced because I'm so extreme. So if I can look at my week and visually see that if it's not in my calendar, it's not happening. So training sessions are in my calendar. Psychology appointments in my calendar. And I like to have a buffer in between. So if I've gone to the gym and I, don't want to rush off somewhere, I will leave a buffer in between the tasks that I'm doing, so I'm not feeling overwhelmed and stressed and burnt out. So the best thing about color coding, which you can do with a Google Calendar or a physical calendar, is you can actually chunk and time block, and you can prioritize what's important to you. So if you were feeling burnt out, stressed, restless, and you were to look at your week and all you can see is yellow, work, and I don't know, social media, whatever it is, then that is not enough to make you feel balanced. For me, I want to socialize, and if I'm busy, then I will do my walk or my sauna and bring a friend, because then I'm ticking off 2 things at once. But color coding and having that visual representation of seeing the rainbow, for me, makes me feel balanced and in control of my life, because fuck.
No.
We're not in control sometimes.
Yeah, and I love it. Gives you awareness. It
Yeah.
gives you this awareness that you're not just a hamster on a wheel running through life. You're okay, today I'm going to tick these boxes. I think it's a great way, and I think people get caught up in the rabbit race of work and then they don't have time to do anything. It's you got to make time.
I think another thing that I do, like I said, I've been struggling to meditate lately, but I usually do Vedic meditation. If I'm struggling to meditate or if I don't have time, I do it in the shower. So
What? Could not.
Do you do that?
No, I need to be in my meditation spot. I'm very ritual with my meditation. My incense are on.
Oh my God, go girl.
It's such a thing. I'm in the shower. Do you close your eyes in there?
Oh, I mean if I'm running out the door but I just want to take a moment.
I thought you're doing your 20-minute
No.
Vedic.
No. I used to do 20 minutes but far out. I'm so out of routine with meditation, even though it helps me. But honestly, 5 minutes, 2 minutes in the shower of just letting, I do have a mantra with Vedic meditation, but because I haven't been doing it regularly, now if I'm in a hurry, I'll jump in the shower and I'll repeat the words, let go. And I will just literally let the water shake off or cleanse me, because water for me is so cleansing. That's a really good way to state change. Same thing with the cold shower. If you're feeling anxious and need to get back in your body, you need to get out of your head, get into a cold shower. Nothing will shake you up more. And another form of meditation breath work I like to do is the Physiological Sigh by Dr. Andrew Huberman, which is a double inhale through the nose and an exhale. I do that if I'm feeling I want energy, or I never really do it in the nighttime because it actually kind of gives you energy and it oxygenates you. But if I'm trying to calm down, I'll do the 4-7-8 breath work, which is an inhale for 4, hold for 7 and out for 8. My morning routine is not full on. It used to be, but now I just try and start my day with slow planning, coffee. Sometimes I'll get out for a walk. Sometimes I'll do sun gazing where I get out and get the sunlight in my eyes. Also Dr. Andrew Huberman to help with melatonin. But I would say it's pretty flexible now. I just want to feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even though you're planning, your morning routine isn't super rigid, I don't know, I feel like you'd be good at goal setting because of your whole highlighting thing. Is goal setting something you include in your life?
I think if I look back at you know, my career, the goals I've set have been so extreme. It's like make the Australian team, be world champion, hold Australian championships, like try and do that every year, like, or they've all been so extreme. Whereas now I've understood the importance of having a long-term goal, but actually stripping it back to your monthly, weekly and daily check-ins. So let's say your goal is to run a half marathon, or your goal is to get a promotion at work. For whoever's listening, I'm sure everyone has lots of different goals. Rather than focusing so heavily on the big goal and feeling pressure to achieve it in this time period, I would look at the big goal and strip it back on like, what are the little things you can tick off? I think what's more important is the 24 hours that's in front of you. What's more important is managing your stress, your sleep, your hydration and your nutrition, and looking at the basics, because this big goal is brilliant, but you don't want to burn yourself out in the process. So if it is like a half marathon, what training are you doing in that week? How much rest have you got? Like, you really want to chunk those little goals down, because the big goal is great, but it's the little ones that help you get there. Yeah. So you start the goal and then you work backwards. But that was my failure, is pushing myself way too much and burning out. It really matters what you're doing in those 24 hours, and then progressively overloading.
Yeah, and I truly believe you only know when you look back on your life. Like, I'm sure you look a year ago and then you see where you are now and you're like, wow, I achieved a lot, I did a lot, but it's only in that hindsight, and it's all those baby steps added up to this big thing now. So it's inspiring, and every day I really am going to do my rainbow journal with you.
It's actually the best thing ever.
Because you're ticking off these little 1% every day, and then you're bettering yourself in a holistic approach rather than just slam yourself at the gym to reach a certain goal, or slam yourself at work to get that promotion. You're going to be a better person, and the other things will happen naturally.
I also think on the other side, which has taken me so long to learn, is being proud of yourself for saying no. So let's say you've planned, I am very big on keeping the promises that you make to yourself, but it's a fine line between keeping those promises that you make to yourself, which build confidence, which build self-love and build self-respect, but then also honoring where you're at. So if you've said, I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to go for this run, but hey, you've woken up, you're sore and you're tired, if you're going to cancel that, you actually need to be proud of yourself for canceling, because you're choosing yourself in that moment. It's a fine line, but it's a really important question to ask yourself. How am I feeling right now? What does my body need? What does my body need is the question that I ask myself every single day. Because if you're answering a question, answering that and then planning your day differently, that's not health. And that's not self-love.
Yeah.
That's fear. That's punishment. You should be exercising and doing these things because you love yourself, not because you hate yourself.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you the last question, which I ask all the guests. I think you've kind of answered it here and there, but what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, if I look back at my younger self, I kind of just want to give her a bit of a hug. I think that
there's a really beautiful meditation where you picture your younger self, you visualize them, and then you end up hugging yourself, and everyone's just like crying because everyone has that emotion for that younger self, you know?
I just think we're like, I don't know, if I look back at my younger self, I just tried so hard. I think that I just pushed myself too much and it wasn't from a place of love. It wasn't like, I'm so proud of myself for these little steps. I was only proud of myself when I'd achieved these like really crazy goals. Like, I felt proud of myself for becoming world champion the day I won. And then I just went straight back to training again. And I think the advice I'd give my younger self is to be proud of who you are and to love the journey, because I just don't know if I did. I think I was just too hard on myself. The inner child work is hectic.
Yeah.
It's actually like it's when you start doing inner child work, you're like, oh my God, like, and also how we speak to ourselves now, like, you know, as an adult, I'm 30, and I think sometimes I speak to myself and I'm like, oh my God, I'm such a bitch to myself. Like, would I actually speak to like my 14-year-old self like that? I'd say, hey, like, maybe you need a day off. Like, you're doing great.
Yeah.
But we just don't do that. We speak to ourselves like we're a boss, like, do harder, try harder, like, you didn't do this good enough. what if we did speak to ourselves like our little versions of us, like our child version? You'd be soft, you'd be compassionate. Like, we can not be so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
It just takes time. And I'm still getting there, trust me.
Yeah, I'm listening to you and I'm like taking all these advice. I'm like, I need a Katie in my head at all times. I need to carry her on my shoulder. You're so good.
Trust
Katie.
me, I'm not there yet. Like, I'm getting there. I'm trying.
Do you know what I also love about you is that we can say all this advice and knowledge from our experience, but we're not there yet. And you're never there yet. And it's just that reminder. It's a forever journey. I think it's something that comes up again and again on the podcast. It's, you hear these advice, you think these people have it all put together, but everyone is working on themselves every single day.
Baby, when you sent me these questions, like, I could have answered them in, like, I was thinking about how I'm going to answer these questions. Like, I could actually tell you all of the stuff as like an expert, but really where I'm at right now, like, I'm not as disciplined as I was, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And my morning routine is not as good as I want it to be, but that's fine.
It's realistic though.
Yeah.
And it's relatable. Like, everyone can wake up, have a glass of water, have a coffee and look at the sun. You're not asking a lot, but it will make a world of difference.
There's a lot you can do in your morning routine. You can get up at 4 a.m. You can fucking Wim Hof. You can ice bath. That's great. I can't wait to get back into that again. But for now, I'm going to honor where I'm at and tick off the things that I can. And if I don't get around to it, that's actually okay.
Yeah. Well, Katie, thank you so much for coming on the pod. You're a bloody weapon.
I'm coming next time into you. I'm going to be a regular.
If you don't, make sure you follow her at Katie Willaims. And yeah, if you love this pod, make sure to share it. And I'll see you on the next episode.